Some conversations don't feel like conversations. They feel like battles you didn't ask for, rooms that shrink around you, words that echo back in ways you didn't say them. If you've ever spoken to someone and walked away feeling smaller, confused, or doubting what you know you said, there's a good chance you weren't just misunderstood. You were dealing with something deeper, something designed to twist, not listen, to win, not connect. You were talking to a narcissist. This isn't about name calling. It's not about labeling everyone difficult as toxic. This is about understanding the moment you start losing your sense of reality inside a conversation. When your voice stops feeling like your own, when their needs become the center of gravity and everything else starts to orbit around their frustration, their charm, their pain, their brilliance, you begin to disappear inside their narrative. And that is not communication. That is control. Let's be clear, a narcissist is not someone who just thinks highly of themselves. It's someone who cannot genuinely consider you at all. They are emotionally incapable of stepping outside their own perspective. When you speak, they're not listening to hear you. They're listening to respond. They're collecting words to redirect the focus. If you're celebrating, they need to one-up you. If you're hurting, they need to hurt more. If you succeed, they need the spotlight back. And if they're in the wrong, they need to flip the script so you carry the guilt. Everything becomes a loop that leads back to them. And the more you try to explain yourself, the more tangled it becomes. The hardest part is, on the surface, they can seem completely normal, charming even. Sometimes they're coworkers, sometimes they're family, sometimes they're the people you've trusted most. And that's what makes it so confusing. You keep thinking the next conversation might go better, that if you just say it the right way, they'll finally understand, but they won't. Not because you're not clear, but because they're not capable of hearing anything that threatens the image they've built. They are not fighting for connection. They are protecting control. So what do you do when the person you're speaking to is always playing a game you didn't sign up for? You learn how to keep your ground without getting pulled into theirs. You stop trying to win their approval and start protecting your peace. You begin to notice the patterns, not the promises. You recognize the game, and then you decide not to play. You learn the power of silence, the strength of short, neutral responses, and most importantly, you stop expecting an apology from someone who believes they're never wrong. Not because you're giving up, but because you're waking up. This isn't about changing them. It's about not letting them change you. It's about holding on to what's true even when they try to twist it. It's about staying anchored in who you are, even when they try to make you question it. Because your voice doesn't need their permission. It only needs your clarity. And once you learn how to stay grounded in the middle of a narcissist storm, you stop fighting to be heard and start choosing when and how to speak on your own terms. Every narcissist is playing a game, but it's not a game you can win because the rules change as soon as you start making sense. The scoreboard shifts every time you stand your ground. The goal is never clarity, it's control. And if you don't see that early, you'll get pulled in before you even realize what you're playing. That's why the first rule is simple. Don't play. The game has a name. It's called praise or provoke. If you're giving them admiration, validation, attention, they're satisfied for a moment. But the moment that praise stops flowing, they pivot. And when they do, they turn to provocation. They poke, they accuse, they make backhanded comments. They twist your tone or pick at your flaws. They shift from charming to critical with no warning. Because at the center of every narcissist is a hunger. And that hunger doesn't care if it's fed by love or by conflict, as long as it's about them. You've seen it happen. You're in a normal conversation. You mention something kind about someone else, a mutual friend, a family member. The narcissist suddenly interrupts with a subtle jab or dismissive comment, or worse, they flip the topic. They say something like, yeah, well, I've actually done more than that. I know them better. I've had the same experience, but bigger. Now the focus is back where they believe it belongs, on them. And when they can't get admiration, they'll settle for emotional chaos because attention is still attention. And your frustration, your defensiveness, your attempts to reason with them, all of it is energy they can feed off. That's the trick. They don't care if you're praising them or arguing with them. They just want the spotlight. And if you're talking, explaining, reacting, defending, they've got it. What's dangerous is that it feels like something you can fix. You think if I just explain better, they'll understand. If I stay calm, they'll come around. If I push back hard enough, they'll finally hear me. But that's not how this works, because this isn't about truth, it's about power. The argument is not a doorway to resolution, it's a trap. And every word you add gives them another lever to pull. You'll start to notice the cycle. It begins with you feeling confused, then defensive, then angry, then exhausted. And in the end, you're not even sure how the conversation went off track. You just know you feel drained and unsure of what's real. That's not an accident. That's the goal. The more you chase logic, the more they twist it. The more you seek understanding, the more they distort it. And the more you give, the more they take, not to grow closer, but to stay in control. That's why the strongest move is not pushing back, it's stepping out. It's not silence and fear, it's silence and wisdom. You can't win a game that was designed for you to lose. So you stop playing. You recognize the pattern. You feel the bait coming. You hear the shift in tone. And instead of engaging, you step out, you say less or nothing at all. Because silence can't be misquoted, calm can't be twisted, and neutrality can't be weaponized. You might worry that silence feels passive, but it's not. It's strategic. It's power held close. It's you deciding not to hand over control just because someone else is demanding it. It's you saying without saying it, I see the game. I'm just not playing this time. And here's the key. Every time you choose not to play, you take back a little more ground. You stop fighting for their validation. You stop trying to get them to see what they're not willing to see. You stop giving them the reaction they're waiting for. And in that quiet refusal, you shift the balance. You stop being the person pulled in and start becoming the person who stands firm. So the next time the conversation turns, the spotlight shifts and the game begins. Pause, breathe, step back. You don't need to prove anything. You don't need to win. You just need to remember, the only way to beat a rigged game is to stop playing it. There's a moment in every difficult conversation when your heart starts racing, when your brain begins writing sentences faster than your mouth can speak them, when every part of you wants to push back, defend yourself, prove your side. That moment is the invitation, the trap. And the most powerful response you can give is no response at all. Silence is not weakness, it is control. It is the kind of strength that does not perform. It does not fight for attention. It does not demand to be heard. Silence is the space where clarity grows. Because when you speak to a narcissist, they are not listening for understanding. They are listening for leverage. They are collecting your words, not so they can hear you, but so they can turn them against you. The more you say, the more you offer. The longer you explain, the more doors you leave open for them to twist what you meant. And by the end of it, you're defending a version of your words that never existed in the first place. Silence, on the other hand, gives them nothing. Nothing to grab, nothing to flip, nothing to fight. It forces them to sit in the discomfort of not being able to manipulate the moment. It removes the fuel from their fire. Because if they can't provoke you, they can't control you. And when they can't control you, the game begins to fall apart. We're taught that communication means speaking, that if you're quiet, you're losing. But that's not true when you're dealing with manipulation. In that space, silence is not losing. It's leading. It's the refusal to enter a space that was never built for your clarity. It's the decision to stop throwing rope into a pit that was designed to pull you under. And here's what makes silence even more powerful. It can't be misquoted. It can't be taken out of context. It can't be reframed or exaggerated. No one can say you said what you didn't say when you said nothing. And in a conversation where every word is a potential trap, silence becomes your armor. It's the only thing that stays intact, no matter how hard they try to bend it. Sometimes silence is a pause. Sometimes it's a full stop. Sometimes it's the deep breath you take before choosing not to reply. And every time you choose it, you're sending a message. A message that says, I see what's happening here. I see the bait. I see the performance. And I'm not giving it what it wants. It will feel uncomfortable at first. You'll want to fill the space. You'll want to explain your intent, correct their assumptions, clarify your feelings. But you don't owe that to someone who's not interested in the truth. You don't have to match their energy. You don't have to justify your silence. You just have to own it and let it do what only silence can do. Hold the line. In practical terms, that silence can sound like a short phrase spoken calmly. Noted, okay, I understand, or nothing at all. Just a pause, a breath, a quiet presence that refuses to move no matter how loud the other person gets. Because they will get louder, they will poke harder, they will accuse, they will escalate, not because you're wrong, but because they're losing control. And that's when you stay steady. That's when your silence becomes a mirror. And what they see in that mirror is their own chaos reflected back at them. Silence doesn't solve everything, but it saves you from sinking into things that were never meant to hold you. It protects your peace when the conversation stops being about truth and starts being about power. And most of all, it reminds you that you don't have to play every role someone casts you in. You don't have to defend yourself just because they're attacking. You don't have to speak just because they're shouting. You can stand in silence and still be strong. You can say nothing and still be clear. Because sometimes the loudest thing you'll ever say is the thing you chose not to say at all. There's a moment in every difficult relationship where you quietly hope that one day they'll get it, that one day they'll see how much they hurt you, that they'll finally stop, look at you and say the words you've been needing to hear. I'm sorry, I didn't see it then, I understand now, but that moment never comes. Not because you're not worthy of it, but because they are not capable of giving it. A narcissist will not validate your experience. They will not meet you in the middle. They will not reflect back empathy or self-awareness, because doing so would require them to step outside themselves. And they can't. They've built an identity on being right, being better, being untouched by fault. To admit they hurt you is to admit they are not who they pretend to be. And that is a truth they will never allow in. So they twist, they blame, they gaslight. Not because they're confused, but because they are protecting the only thing they truly care about, themselves. And this is the truth no one wants to hear. The apology may never come. The understanding you hoped for may never arrive. The moment of clarity you replay in your head, where they finally see your side and acknowledge your pain, may never happen. And that doesn't make your pain less real. It doesn't make your experience less valid. It only means you need to stop waiting for someone else to finish the healing you've already started. You don't need their permission to move on. You don't need their acknowledgement to know you were mistreated. You don't need their apology to let go. You only need to decide that your peace matters more than their approval, that your healing is not on hold, waiting for them to catch up. It's here, it's now, it's yours. There is strength in accepting what someone cannot give you. There is wisdom in no longer trying to pull empathy out of someone who's never shown it. And there is power in saying this chapter is over, even if the last sentence was never written. You're not walking away because you gave up too soon. You're walking because you finally understand it's not your job to teach someone how to care. It's not your job to force someone to see you. It's your job to protect the version of yourself that still believes you are worthy of being seen. Letting go of the need to be understood is not an act of defeat. It is an act of self-respect. It's a declaration that your truth stands with or without their agreement. And letting go of the need for an apology is not weakness, it's freedom. Because once you stop needing closure from the person who broke you, you begin to give closure to yourself quietly, privately, completely. So stop rehearsing the conversation they'll never have. Stop waiting for the words that won't come. Stop tying your peace to the growth they refuse to choose. You don't need to prove anything to them. You only need to believe in what you already know. That what happened was real, that your pain is valid, that your healing is in motion, and that your future is no longer waiting for their apology to begin. There is a woman I once spoke to who reminded me that strength does not always look like resistance. Sometimes it looks like restraint. She was a mother, recently divorced, raising 2 young children while navigating the emotional wreckage left behind by a man who was charming to the world and cruel in the shadows. A man who did not raise his voice but always found a way to lower hers. He had the official diagnosis, narcissistic personality disorder. But the paperwork mattered less than the damage. It was not the yelling or the threats. It was the way he used words like weapons and silence like traps. Every conversation became a contest she never signed up for. And still she kept playing because they had to co-parent, because they had to communicate, because she did not want to make things worse. She told me she used to send long texts trying to explain herself, trying to clear the air, trying to create peace by reasoning with someone who did not value peace, only power. And every time he would pick one line, twist it, and turn the entire conversation against her, she would say something about the children, and he would make it about her attitude. She would ask a simple question, and he would accuse her of being controlling. It was never about the content. It was always about control. until one day she stopped. Not because she was defeated, but because she had finally seen the game for what it was. She realized he did not need her to be wrong. He just needed her to react. So she gave him nothing. She changed the way she spoke. Short sentences, neutral tone, no defense, no elaboration, just space. She started using phrases like understood and noted. And when he pushed harder, she did not rise to meet the chaos. She stood still. She began keeping everything in writing, not for revenge, for clarity, for safety. When he contradicted something he had said a week before, she did not argue. She simply wrote, "This is a contradiction." That was it, nothing else. He could not twist it. He could not stretch it because there was nothing there to grab onto. The rope had been pulled back. The game had no player. And in that silence, she felt something she had not felt in years. Control, not over him, over herself, over her energy, over her time, over her peace. He did not stop trying to provoke her, but he stopped winning because she no longer entered the arena. What struck me most about her was not how much she had endured. It was how much she had chosen to let go. She had stopped needing an apology, stopped hoping for understanding, stopped fighting to be seen by someone who only saw his own reflection. She told me, "He has not changed, but I have, and that is enough." And it is, because not every victory is loud. Some are quiet, some look like not replying, some look like walking away from your phone without a racing heart. Some look like sitting across from someone who wants to hurt you and choosing not to respond, not because you are weak, but because you are done. So if you are in that same place trying to communicate with someone who only knows how to provoke or manipulate, remember her. Remember that silence is strength, that short sentences are shields. That logic is not the answer. Distance is. Keep your replies simple. Keep your tone steady. Do not explain. Do not argue. Do not try to make them understand. Just speak from your peace. Then leave the conversation before it leaves you empty. There will always be people who thrive on control. But the moment you stop giving them your attention, your words, your need to be right, you take back more than your power. You take back yourself. Some battles do not happen face to face. They happen through screens, through small gray bubbles, through messages that look harmless at first but are designed to confuse you, bait you, or draw you into a storm you cannot see coming. And that is why when you are dealing with a narcissist, texting becomes more than just a form of communication. It becomes a space where you must protect your clarity at all costs. Texting can feel safer. There is time to think. You can edit before you send. You can document everything. But it can also become another trap if you are not intentional. A narcissist does not need to be in the same room to manipulate. They can do it through words on a screen, and they will. Because what they want is not connection. What they want is control. And texting gives them a perfect place to twist your words without interruption. That is why the first rule is this: keep it short. Do not send long explanations. Do not pour your heart into a message hoping they will finally understand. They will not read it with empathy. They will skim it for weakness. They will look for one word they can flip, one sentence they can attack, one emotion they can use against you, so give them nothing. One sentence, 5 words. 3 if you can. That is enough. Stick to the facts, confirm the plan, acknowledge the time, nothing more. If you feel the urge to explain, pause, reread what you want to send, then cut it in half, then cut it again, until only what is necessary remains. You are not writing to be understood. You are writing to stay free. Avoid sarcasm. Avoid emotional language. Avoid responding to provocations. When they say something hurtful, do not match their tone. When they make a passive-aggressive comment, do not take the bait. Just respond with clarity. Noted, understood, got it. Let them sit with their own words without giving them yours to twist. If they contradict themselves, do not argue. Just name it. This is a contradiction, period. Do not follow it with a question. Do not offer explanation. Do not reopen the loop. Name it and move on. Let the message be enough without needing a second one. And remember this: every message you send is a mirror. It reflects not just what you say, but who you are becoming. If you want to be free of chaos, your words must be free of chaos. If you want peace, your communication must carry peace. That does not mean being passive. It means being intentional. Choosing what to say, choosing when to say nothing. You are not going to change a narcissist over text. You are not going to reason them into empathy. You are not going to receive the apology you deserve in a message they never meant. But you can choose to stay centered. You can choose to keep your dignity intact. You can choose to end the conversation on your terms. Because control in a conversation with a narcissist does not come from winning the argument. It comes from refusing to let the argument happen at all. You cannot control how someone treats you. You cannot rewrite their character. You cannot force them to listen, but you can choose what you carry from the conversation. You can choose your energy. You can choose your tone. You can choose whether or not you play their game. And those choices shape who you become far more than the argument ever will. When you speak to a narcissist, the real goal is not to fix them. It is to protect you. Your peace, your clarity, your voice, and protecting that does not require shouting. It does not require proving anything. It only requires presence, knowing when to speak, knowing when to stay silent, knowing when to walk away without waiting for understanding that may never come. You do not need their apology to be whole. You do not need their validation to trust what you feel. You do not need their agreement to know what happened. The moment you stop chasing those things is the moment you return to yourself. And that is where the healing begins. Not in their change, in your clarity. So the next time you feel pulled into their chaos, remember what is real. You are not too sensitive. You are not overreacting. You are responding to a pattern, and you have the power to stop it from repeating, not by fixing them, but by protecting your peace. If this spoke to something in you, take a moment to pause before you scroll. Reflect on the conversations you keep replaying. Ask yourself what they are really costing you. And if you are ready to draw the line, start here. Start now. Follow Daily 1% Impact for more quiet tools that protect your peace and sharpen your clarity, because it only takes one choice a day to start becoming the version of you that no one can take apart. Your voice is yours. Keep it, guard it, use it well.